Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Campus Care Presents Ed Talks. Ed Talks is a platform where educators and leaders come on board and express their viewpoints on topics related to education and society. Our topic for the day is emphasis on foundational literacy and numeracy, and to express their viewpoints on the same, we have with us Ms. Shruti Sharma ma'am, Principal of Delhi International School, Dwarka, New Delhi. Very welcome, Shruti ma'am. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing well. Hope the same for you.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am, for taking out your time. Then we have with us Fatima ma'am, Academic Director of Inara High School, Telangana. Very welcome, Fatima ma'am. How are you doing? Ma'am, am I audible to you? Okay, I think she's having some technical problem. No problem. So Shruti ma'am, we are talking here about foundational literacy, ma'am. What is foundational literacy? What do we understand by it, and why is it so important for students' academic progress, ma'am?
So basically, when we talk about the foundational literacy, like I would explain you in a very simple term, like we have the foundation of a house. So what is the foundation? Foundation is the base. So when we are talking about the foundational literacy, we are talking about developing literacy at the foundational level, which is the early years level. And when you talk to me and when you ask me that why it is important in academics, it is important because a lot of children, in fact, everybody, we learn through our experiences. And the research shows that the maximum development of the brain, it takes place until 3 years of age. So that means the inception of our thought process, the opinions, the way we think, the morals, the values, they come to us in the early years, around 3 years of age. We slowly adapt to the things, and these small steps actually build our mindset. It tells us how do we inculcate the morals and the values. So, thus, the literacy at the foundational level is very important and vital. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am. Fatima ma'am, am I audible to you now? Okay, I'll just ask her to rejoin. Okay, Shruti ma'am, very well explain of what foundational literacy is, ma'am. Ma'am, what are some of the components? What are some of the things a student that needs to develop in order, for foundational literacy in general? What are the key components of it, ma'am?
So basically, when we talk about the key components of the foundational literacy, we can talk about the oral communication, how you and I talk with each other. It is also reading, the reading of the basics, like we have the 5 finger rule. So that's quite important. We have reading comprehension, we have fluency in speaking, and how a child is able to convey his opinion and views.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am. And ma'am, have you ever faced some sort of challenges also? What are some of the challenges that one can face in the same while implementing foundational literacy, ma'am?
Right. So basically, the challenge is again, I would state the mindset. The reason is that the parents, to convince the parent body is very, very important. But the importance of literacy and numeracy at the inception of the early age, how do we ask the parents that why it is important? Now, for example, if you take my example only, we've attended several webinars to understand what the NEP 2020 states or what the NCFF states, and now we have begun with the uh, journey of the early numeracy and foundation, but we also took time. Why so early? So, in the similar manner, when we interact with the parents, it becomes very important to us that how do we explain things to them, and we take them into our corner and tell them it is important. For example, we have been talking about certain things. We have been doing a small mathematics on a daily basis, but how important it is to the early years is what we have to explain to the parents. Of course, the challenge then remains the parent body. The second, it remains the teachers, of course. How do you convince them that you have to do it? So all these are the challenges of the school. Basically, all the stakeholders, how to cohesively work with them. Thank you.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Moving on, ma'am. How does a teacher, how does an educator, how can they, assess or monitor the students' progress?
So, see, monitoring the student progress is an ongoing process. It cannot be done on a single day. It cannot be done by giving grades or marks to the children and state, my child has or your child has come to this level. It is like how, for example, the child begins decoding the language. If you talk about the reading skills, how basically the child was able to communicate and decode orally, then went towards the picture books, then tried to identify and comprehend the pictures and the characters, then went to labeling, then to simple sentences. So this is a small progression. So how the child or the children are able to take that leap in their system of understanding and comprehending is what I would state. Earlier, we used to do only the readings, but then guided reading. So that's a progression. So that is how the teachers can identify from where until where.
Thank you so much, Shruti, ma'am. Fatima, ma'am has joined. Ma'am, am I audible to you? Ma'am, you're on mute actually.
Hello, yes, you are audible.
Good evening, ma'am, and a very welcome to you. How are you doing?
Good evening. Thank you so much. I'm doing fine.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, we were speaking of Shruti, ma'am was just telling us about what a foundational literacy is and why is it for, why is it important for the students. So, ma'am, would you like to add something to her?
Surely. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Tawheer, Academic Director in Aura High School, Sun City. Vast experience of 23 years in the field of academics. I started the school with a mission to see that the children are loving to learn and challenge their potentials and position themselves in the power corridors of the world. With this mission, we have started in Aura High School. And now coming to the question, Ms. Shruti, how important is foundational literacy? I would say that foundational literacy and numeracy are of paramount importance because the early experiences between birth to age of 8, these are the years which provide or architect the brain of a child. So the learning experiences or opportunities which are provided at this point of time work as a catalyst in future learning. They work as a bedrock foundation on which the learning experiences are built on in future learning. We can correlate the early foundational literacy and numeracy directly to the outcome of future learning. So I think literacy and numeracy skills at an early age are of significant importance. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatima, ma'am. And also, Shruti, ma'am was telling us about how can the teachers, how can the educators, how can they monitor or assess, the students' progress while implementing foundational literacy skills, ma'am.
Okay, my take on assessment during early childhood education is I think standardized tests are one way of assessing a student's progress where you see that the child's ability is being compared to the ability of a larger population. That is standardized way of testing. But rather, if we go in for observation or running records of assessment of the students, that works perfectly well because in early childhood education, we cannot or it is not really advisable to use quantitative analysis of the progress
Rather, I think we should go for a qualitative analysis of the progress of the child. Rubrics really works for assessment of the children in early childhood education, because that gives levels of progress rather than a due number. So I think remarks by the teachers, observation, and rubrics that we follow works for the assessment of early foundational literacy level.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful explanation. Shruti, ma'am, over to you. Ma'am, what role do you think does numbers play in everyday life, numeracy when we are talking of, and why is it so important to develop the strongest numeracy skills in the students, ma'am?
I think again I would state that it is the everyday life skill that even the literacy or the numeracy plays in our from starting from our childhood. So I'll take a very basic example of a child or a toddler who takes milk, for example, 4 times maybe in a day. So now 4 times is a count, it is a numeracy. Brushing your teeth twice, so again it is a numeracy. Sitting on a bed, identifying the shape, sitting in a room which is a typical or a rectangle or a square. You celebrate a birthday, so a cake is circle while you're wearing a cone or a triangle shape for maybe the early years, the cone shaped hats. So this is in our daily life. So I think numeracy plays a very, very vital role. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am. Fatima ma'am, would you like to add something to Shruti ma'am? What role do you think numeracy plays in everyday's life of a student, of
Shruti,
anybody?
I think numeracy plays a vital role in a person's life. We are surrounded with mathematics from the time we get up from the bed, looking at the clock, which is time, and then making our early morning tea with 2 spoons of sugar, and then heading off for shopping, or let it be the budget of the nation. We are surrounded with mathematics. This key components in early numeracy is arithmetics like addition, subtraction, patterns, spatial awareness. These are the components. But when we go in for refinement of these components, they add on to the competencies like analytical skills, logical thinking, reasoning. So, numeracy plays a very vital role and has a significant impact on the overall well being of a person as an adult.
Absolutely, ma'am. Also, Fatima, ma'am, how can the teachers, how can anybody make this foundational literacy or numeracy, more enjoyable? You know, what are some of the tips that you would like to give?
Yes, surely. The early childhood education, the focus of early childhood education remains more on well-being of a child, a cell, that is social and emotional learning of the child, and overall a holistic development of the child is one thing we are looking at when we are talking about early childhood education. I think if we do away with, we cannot completely do away with oral drilling and rote learning, but to provide a productive opportunity for the child, multiple opportunities to a child where the child is able to explore, discover, and then construct knowledge by himself based on the activities he's involved in. I think this is basically called experiential learning. Providing them opportunity to learn by activities is called experiential learning. So experiential learning is one methodology I think the teachers should incorporate in their lesson plans to make early childhood education more enjoyable.
Thank you so much, Fatima, ma'am. Shruti, ma'am, over to you, ma'am. How can the teachers make foundational literacy more engaging or enjoyable for the students, ma'am?
Well, I would state again at that stage, making it relate to the real life examples would be something that you're not only asking the child to comprehend what the learnings are, but also relate to the real life. So, starting from the early morning, as Fatima ma'am already stated, that we get up with the alarm clock, and when the child enters a bus, for example. So literacy can be developed while the child comes back, and you can ask simple questions or interact with the child, asking that how was your journey or what all things did you observe while you were coming to the school. And you can develop the numeracy by asking that how many children were present in the bus today. So you are actually relating the concepts with the real life. Then moving on and so forth, these are certain things that making the classes more interesting. And as ma'am stated about the experiential learning, or you may call it as the active learning, where the children take the ownership of their own learning. It's very important. It is no more the era of a chalk and talk where the teachers enter, they pick up a chalk, they write certain things on a chalkboard, and that's done. No, I think how the child is going to comprehend is only when you relate the things of the actual doings. So that is very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shruti ma'am. Thank you so much, Fatima ma'am, for being here today. And it was lovely having you here and listening to your experiences and viewpoints, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shruti, for having us.
Pleasure was ours, and we are hoping to contribute whatever we can in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am. Have a great day.